These are this afternoon's top stories. Guyana Amazon warriors defeat SKN Patriots. Guyana welcomes Peace Corps volunteers. And South Carolina Confederate flag to be removed. Good afternoon and welcome to ZIZ Mid newscast. Today is Thursday, 9th July 2015. I'm Carla Berridge. In national developments, a poor bowling performance from St. Kitts and Nevis, followed by a superb batting display by Guyana's Brad Hodge, saw the Amazon Warriors winning its second match against the SKN Patriots in the Hero Caribbean Premier League. Rain interrupted the Amazon Warriors' run chase of 158 for 6 3 times, but Hodge, regarded as the most experienced T20 player in the world, led his team to an 8-wicket Duckworth-Lewis victory at Warner Park. Wednesday's match also saw lone Kittitian player Jace Taylor getting his first feel of an actual match when he took to the field in the second innings. The Amazon Warriors have now moved to 5th position, while the Patriots remain in 3rd place with 3 matches to go. The team's next opponent will be the St. Lucia Zooks on Friday at Warner Park. The police are warning drivers about debris that has been falling onto the street across Old Road Bay. Police Public Relations Officer Inspector Lyndon David said they received the call about the debris at about 9 a.m. and is warning drivers to be cautious in that area.
Particular section of the road has a pileup of dirt in the road, and we are currently advising motorists to drive cautiously and carefully whilst driving along that road at Old Road Bay itself. Currently the police officers are there are cones of place on the road, and we expect shortly that men from Public Works will be there and removing the dirt that has fallen into the road.
He said this tends to happen when there is a heavy rain and there have been no reports of injuries or damage. Vice President of the International Task Force for the UNESCO Slave Route Project, Sir Hilary Beckles, has lent his voice to the issue of reparations. During a UNESCO symposium on Tuesday, Sir Hilary presented on the topic Imperative of Reparatory Justice, Why Now? What is the Plan? He said we have to celebrate our governments for taking a stand.
We have successfully made the argument to our heads of governments. And we have said to our heads of governments, you have to act on our behalf.
Sir Hilary added, reparation is about development.
It's about your next stage of development. It's about where we are going to go as a people in the next 30, 40 years. Where we are going to be with human development. No one ever get reparations for any injustice committed against him if you are weak, disorganized, confused, and in doubt.
Sir Hilary Beckles, Vice President of the International Task Force for the UNESCO Slave Route Project. The Antioch Baptist Church is once again offering medical services for this summer through its medical mission program. According to Senior Pastor Lincoln Connor, the church is partnering with the First Baptist Church of Whitaker Falls to host the dental clinic.
In addition, during the same week of the 15th to the 17th, we will be conducting a free dental clinic at the Newtown Dental Facility. All persons are welcomed, but it's based on a space availability. So persons who are interested in being part of the dental clinic would have to go to the Newtown Dental Facility and make a booking, indicate that they would like to make a booking for the free medical clinic conducted by the Antioch Baptist Church.
The Antioch Baptist Church will also host its annual Vacation Bible School as part of its summer program from July 13th to 17th. A look at news on the regional scene. More Peace Corps volunteers are currently in Guyana assisting in the development of the education and health sectors. More in this report.
More Peace Corps volunteers are here to assist in the development of Guyana's education and health sectors.
I promise to foster an understanding of the people of Guyana.
32 U.S. volunteers are now officially attached to serve in Guyana after completing 3 months of training. On Wednesday, Peace Corps Guyana held its 27th swearing-in ceremony. Volunteers will be serving in the areas of community health and education in several regions throughout the country. The new batch of volunteers were reminded that their time in Guyana will be a life-changing one, since they will be seen as ambassadors of their homeland. U.S. Charge d'Affaires Brian Hunt was tasked with the duty of administering the oath to the trainees before making them volunteers of Peace Corps.
I hope that our new trainees will recognize that you will all be ambassadors for our nation in your communities. I know you will represent our nation with distinction and earn the respect and goodwill of the people you meet. Our Peace Corps volunteers come to Guyana from all 50 states and represent the ethnic, cultural, religious, and social diversity of the United States. They come from many backgrounds with a variety of skills and experiences to contribute to their service in Guyana.
Some of the volunteers speaking with this newscast share their experience and what led to them being a part of the U.S. Peace Corps.
It's definitely been an interesting experience, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun learning a new culture and getting integrated and stuff like that. You can expect me personally to bring whatever experiences I've had and whatever knowledge I had to try and learn from the people at my site and to work as hard as I can.
I got married, raised a family. Eventually, my family was grown. I went back to school, got my degree, and here I am. You don't know what to expect before you get here, and you don't really know what to expect after you get here, but you just let every day unfold for itself, and it's being an amazing thing.
Guyana's education and health ministers encouraged the group of volunteers to carry on the work of the Peace Corps while highlighting that it will not be an easy task. The work of Peace Corps volunteers in Guyana dates back to the 1960s.
The Offshore Higher Education Licensing and Incentive Bill was one of several bills down for discussion at the sitting of the St. Lucia's House of Assembly on Tuesday. Although the bill is several years in the making, it follows the Lambert's Academy affair that centers around a phony offshore educational institution.
The Lambert's Academy scandal has thrust government's guidelines and due diligence regarding offshore education institutions under a harsh spotlight. Now, private education institutions hoping to set up shop in St. Lucia will be assessed using a revised, stringent set of policies. The Offshore Higher Education Licensing and Incentives Bill was passed in Parliament on Tuesday. In introducing the bill, Education Minister Dr. Robert Lewis says it will provide greater oversight. He described the bill as comprehensive, one that makes provisions for institutions which are denied a license.
You ought to give somebody a reason why you refusing the application for licensing. But also it says that you can give a provisional license for up to 1 year. But it also speaks to the fact that anybody has recourse in Section 24, I think. It says, Section 24 says review of refusal of licensing.
In the wake of the Lambert's Academy affair, there have been allegations of lax rules governing the establishment of private education institutions. However, Dr. Lewis says, to be clear, the Education Act has provisions for the review of applications, and the ministry has, on occasion, denied applications based on scant information from the petitioner.
In the case of the Lambert's institution, the Lambert's College was actually denied a license in the first place by the TVET unit of the ministry because certain bits of information was missing. But when the information was had, the Ministry of Education had no choice but to make that license available to them.
Dr. Lewis says the public needs to understand the difference between licensing and accreditation, stressing that government cannot accredit institutions. Since 2003, that endorsement must come from the Caribbean Accreditation Authority for Education in Medicine and Other Health Professions, known as CAMHP. Dr. Lewis says all offshore institutions on the island have been informed that they should seek accreditation from the regional body. Meanwhile, under the incentives component of the bill, the institutions are being urged to establish their campuses in the university town of Vieux-Fort. Alison Kentish, HTS News Force.
Internationally, With a final vote on Thursday, the South Carolina legislature approved a bill that will take down the Confederate battle flag and send it to the Confederate Relic Room and Military Museum. CNN's Nick Valencia reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could get your attention.
More than 12 hours after passionate and oftentimes contentious debate.
It isn't part of our future. It's part of our past.
Removing this flag from out front is not going to do anything to change this nation.
Members of the South Carolina State House overwhelmingly approving a bill to remove the Confederate flag from the Capitol grounds. This just weeks after 9 black church members, including state senator and pastor Clementa Pinckney, were gunned down by a white supremacist at a Bible study in a Charleston church. A group of lawmakers mounting opposition to the flag's removal, proposing dozens of amendments in an attempt to blunt the momentum of the debate. Beaten back by a group of bipartisan legislators, tempers fraying into the night, an impassioned plea from Republican Representative Jenny Horn to fellow members of her party.
I cannot believe that we do not have the heart in this body to do something meaningful, such as take a symbol of hate off these grounds on Friday. And if any of you vote to amend, you are ensuring that this flag will fly beyond Friday. And for the widow of Senator Pinckney and his 2 young daughters, that would be adding insult to injury. And I will not be a part of it.
A black flag draped over Pinckney's chair as debate came to head. The final vote overwhelmingly in favor of the flag's removal. The move to take down the controversial banner, a stunning reversal in a state that was the site of the first shots in the Civil War and has flown at the State House for half a century. The bill now headed to the desk of South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who praised lawmakers. It is a new day in South Carolina, a day we can all be proud of, a day that truly brings us all together as we continue to heal as one people and one state.
The number of people fleeing the civil war in Syria has now passed 4 million, according to the UN Refugee Agency. An overwhelming majority of the refugees have fled to neighboring countries. More in this report.
4 million and counting. Refugees in Jordan's Zaatari camp didn't think the conflict in Syria would last this long or force this many people out of their country. Thaer al-Hushan is one of the camp's oldest residents. He says 2.5 years later, he's finally adjusted to life as a refugee, but had this reaction when we told him the number of refugees in the region had reached 4 million.
This is a disaster. It means the entire population will eventually be displaced. This makes me feel that our conflict will drag on for years and then a return to Syria as soon as impossible.
From the camp's oldest residents to its newest arrivals, Usama Akrad from Dar'a had lived in Zaatari camp before deciding to survive on his own in the Jordanian border town of Ramtha. But he returned to the camp 2 months ago.
I left the camp because my children couldn't survive the scorching heat of the summer in a tent. In Ramtha, I had to pay rent and it was so expensive. Refugees have to pay for a lot of services outside the camp, so I was forced to return to Zaatari.
When asked what they want from the international community, many of the refugees here say they want an end to the carnage in Syria.
The United Nations has called the Syrian refugee crisis the worst humanitarian disaster in recent history. Almost half of all the people in Syria have been displaced, including 4 million who have been forced to leave for neighboring countries like Jordan. And according to aid agencies, there is no sign of when these refugees will be able to return home.
The UN says the international community has been generous, but the scale of the Syrian crisis is so big that donors are thinking about how funding can be sustained as the conflict continues.
Already this year, people have less access to services. There are already agencies having to cut back on assistance. It's pushing them back to the camps, which are funded entirely by the international community, or pushing them even to return to Syria. And when you have families telling you, I'm going back because I can't earn a living here, and that they would prefer to live in a war zone, you know just how desperate they are.
The UN Refugee Agency says around 80% of Syrian refugees are living below the poverty line. Another 70% are sending their children out to beg and are engaging in degrading or illegal work. Many say this is a sign of how desperate people have become. Nisreen Shamaila, Al Jazeera, Azatri Camp, Mafraq.
And now the weather. Today will be partly cloudy to cloudy and hazy with a chance of few overnight showers. Temperatures will reach a high of 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Sunset today will be at 6:49 p.m. while sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:43 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Kyla Berridge.